Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to South Wales, Paddy. Lovely day, isn't it?
Lovely day for it, Connor. It's hard to be ruined by the team news, but it's still a lovely day.
Yes, it is. We will bring you the team news in just a minute, and brace yourself. Find the nearest sofa. Do whatever you have to do because doesn't make pretty reading.
No, it doesn't. No, I'm just reading some of the comments. Put us out of our misery, lads, says Finley. How bad is it? Well, we'll find out in about 3 minutes, but safe to say it'll be a very unfamiliar Norwich lineup, particularly in midfield and, dare I say, at the top end of the pitch as well. So, as I say, we're going to have to fill for 2 minutes here, aren't we? Otherwise, we'll be in trouble. But unrecognisable in midfield and forward areas, I think, from last Sunday, that's safe to say. And those are the cards that have been dealt, and as a result, we're going to have to see some of these younger players step forward today because they're certainly going to get an opportunity against a very good, or at least a very upwardly mobile Cardiff. So, indeed, Jeff, man, indeed. So, as I've just said we're just going to say, Connor, they've run over a few black cats at Colney this week. There's a Halloween reference.
What we can say at this stage is that there are two Norwich City players who are missing today that wasn't public knowledge. I think anyone who maybe tuned into our Instagram live this morning got the sense that we were alluding to that. It's two players which it's probably compounded by the fact there's several others out, and in a minute's or so time we'll be able to really say. It's resulted in Norwich City probably looking a bit light in certain areas of the pitch. So we will bring you the team news when it drops in a minute or so. But yeah, I think that sets the scene nicely because, and actually there's a parallel, and we spoke about it this morning. I mean, last year Norwich came here with basically no defenders. So, albeit I think they had Stacey on the bench, and you knew this on the bench, didn't they? So this is very much at the top end of the pitch. And no, it's not Borja Sainz. So it's not Borja Sainz. It's the other one. But we'll come on to that in just a moment. And of course, here today, Norwich hoping to end a run of 3 consecutive draws. Obviously, in recent games, the last 2 games against Preston and against Middlesbrough, they come from 2 goals behind. We hope they don't have to do that today. We'll obviously see what we get. It is 2:00, which means, Paddy Davitt, I think we can bring you the Norwich City team, and they line up like this. I'll run through the team first. It's George Long in goal. Fisher, Duffy, Cordoba and Doyle as the back 4. A midfield 3 of Sorensen, Marcondes and Schwartau with Forsyth, Sainz and Sienats up front. So that is no Josh Sargent and no Anis Ben Slimani. So, Paddy, what can you tell us on Josh Sargent first and foremost?
Groin issue, Connor, definitely won't see him this side of the upcoming international period. So that's today, that's Sheffield, Tuesday, and then Bristol City a week today. That is a huge blow, obviously. The indication was it was coming out of Sunday's game last, Middlesbrough, that he felt something. They got it scanned early part of the week. I think they probably knew middle of the week, but didn't really want to give too much away in terms of Cardiff and team news. So that, in a sense of Cernach, they've had a bit of time to prepare and work and do a bit of shape work with him down the middle. But, yeah, no Sargent for, this coming week. And, of course, then it's a 2-week break. So the expectation will be he won't go away with America. And then we would all hope, given his importance to the cause, that 3 weeks down the track he's fit and available. But Giannis will obviously give maybe a bit more of a considered update post-game. But groin, definitely out this week.
Anis Ben Slimani.
Hamstring, we're not sure. Again, we'll double-check with Giannis if it's the hamstring-related issues he had when he missed a few games came to the club in January. That's a concern in itself. That there's a player who hadn't had a lot of football when he got here and seemingly not able maybe to handle a load at the minute, because he was starting in that midfield with McLean and Nunes, which is completely ripped up and gone for today. So, again, scans have confirmed hamstring. I think the expectation is he won't be seen this week, so that's it. Like Sargent, we'll miss him for the next 3 games. And then again, we're into a 2-week international period, and you hope, again, like Sargent, the other side of it is available. But that hasn't been confirmed. Well, I think Sargent, we can pretty much definitively say won't be available this week. And again, we'll run that past Johannes. But not good today. Not good in terms of that guy's trajectory in the Norwich shirt, really. That he's having to deal with these reoccurring issues around muscular problems. So that's where we are with that. Hence why a very unfamiliar looking lineup in the middle of the park.
Yes, and we'll come to that in just a moment. So and you can see the Norwich team running down your screen there. Shane Duffy captains Norwich City this afternoon, by the way. Long in goal, Fisher, Duffy, Cordoba and Doyle. It's a normal back four, a midfield three that we will unpack. Maybe a little bit debate as to whether that's going to be Forsyth or Schwartau centrally and who's going to be playing on the right, but definitely seeing us down the middle. And obviously Borja Sainz in his usual role. The Norwich sub-bench, Archie Mayer, Jack Stacey, Grant Hanley, Ben Prezene, Lucien Mahovo, who is on the bench. Norwich City signed him from Notts County in the summer. Impressed with the under-21s, probably been their most consistent performer so far this season. Left back primarily, he comes onto the bench. I think he played 45 minutes for the 21s at Manchester City last night. Forson, Springett, Gordon and Fashnak. So that is the Norwich City bench. Let's start then, Paddy, with that midfield, because there's been a lot of debate about Kellen Fisher, whether he would push into there, whether Jakob Sorensen was in a position to play in the central three from the start, given his fitness issues. I guess probably given the news that we've just delivered, probably ain't got much choice.
No, definitely needs must. I think it also tells you where Amankwa Forson is now in the pecking order, that he hasn't managed to, in this scenario, still muscle his way into the midfield three. I think he needs clearly to show Johannes a bit more, certainly when he gets opportunity on the pitch, but maybe even day to day, week to week at Colney. You could probably put Cade Gordon in that category as well. The fact that these guys are on the bench today when their slots have opened up. And I guess with Sorensen, we sort of alluded to it on the Insta Live this morning, that in what is going to be a very makeshift looking midfield, you get a little bit of experience with him, don't you? And somebody who's been around the Championship and knows what it's about, plays that role, obviously the holding role, probably better than any of the other options available. So it is needs must, and you just hope that his body holds up, and that we're not dealing with yet another midfield-related injury by the end of today. Because I think we've had quite enough already.
Well, I was going to say that in terms of the players that Norwich City have injured at the moment. Angus Gunn, you'll have to jump in if I miss one. Obviously, Marcelino Nunez, Kenny McLean, obviously serving the first of at least a 3-game suspension with an FA charge over his head as well. But at the moment, that is just 3 games. Anis Ben Slimani, Josh Sargent. Who else am I missing here? Onel Hernandez, Liam Gibbs, Ashley Barnes.
Yeah, those 3 are the longer term ones.
We're talking about 8 players probably who would be in this matchday squad that aren't involved today. I mean, it's and we've spoken about it a lot. The adversity that Johannes Oftorup has had to put up with on and off the pitch, to be fair, since he joined the club. It's it's mecca, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, if you go further, it's the spine of a side. It's Gunn, it's McLean and Nunez, and now it's Sargent. That, any decent side, you need that front to back to be what you rely on week in, week out. And they're shorn of 4 key players there today. That's before you get into Slimani, you get into Barnes, Gibbs, Onel to a degree. So he's had a few challenges on and off the pitch, sort of taking it right back to the transfer window in the summer, but I don't think he's quite had to deal with this on the selection front so far in his first 13 or 12 games as it has been, league games. And what you just hope for me is that those processes that they've put in place aren't reliant on a certain individual being in the side. It isn't maybe the Wagner sort of system last season where you needed a Gabizar or, dare I say, a John Rowe to come and do something to lift the performance and lift the team to get a result. It feels a bit more process-driven. This now, within that, of course, are your chances dramatically improved / going the other way without a Sargent, without a McLean, without a Nunez, without a Gunn even? Of course they are. But because they've got this style of play, this system, and all the players should be very comfortable with coming in and coming out, I'm just hoping they can almost lean into that today, and maybe Sheffield and maybe Bristol as well, and just trust the processes and trust what they've done with the ball, trust their shape outside of possession, and that hopefully is enough to ensure that it isn't a 3-game run where they don't pick up any points, and all that optimism starts to be dented, and not through anything really that's in their control. You can't really do too much about these injuries, but it's just more adversity. They've dealt with adversity in this last 3 games swing. behind twice, 2 goals. Preston, Middlesbrough found a way. Stoke, even when they went back on level terms, they had to weather storms, found a way. Today, they're going to have to find a way from this kick-off, really. And, that's why I fear against, because we've not even discussed it yet, a resurgent Cardiff. It might be a bridge too far today, but, hey, if you get a result in these circumstances, you're Giannis, you go back inside that change room at the final whistle, and it just adds to the belief and adds to the confidence in that group that, hey, we can handle, in this case, missing some key players and still come to a championship away ground, one of the toughest, one of the most informed teams in the league on current form, and get a result.
Indeed. Just this, no, it wasn't mentioned, and that is because, quite simply, they didn't want to let Cardiff know that was going to be the case. That Cardiff will have been preparing all week, as I guess others were, with Josh Sargent in that team. So it gives them, I guess, something else to think about. And I guess, the flip side of this is what you touched upon earlier. It's that opportunity, isn't it? Oscar Schwartau, real chance for him. Gabe Forsyth, real chance for him. Jakob Sorensen. I mean, how much have we spoken about him not being able to play as a defensive midfielder in any Norwich City team, really, that he's been in? He's played more as a left back and as a centre back than he has as a central midfielder during his time at Carrow Road. So, yes, it's an injury list. It's a growing injury list, but by the same token, opportunity knocks, I guess, for some of those guys to prove their worth.
And talking of that presser, I mean, Johannes clearly was aware of the Sargent situation and talked in terms of there will be younger players, unproven players in terms of the 11 who will get an opportunity today. On a positive side of the ledger, can they step forward? Can now, having seen this lineup, Gabe Forsyth, he had a little taste of it at the start of the season and he's been dipped out. He's not quite been able to pierce the Slimani, Nunes, McLean triumvirate. You get an opportunity today. Go and take a step forward. Show what you're about. Likewise, Schwartau, he's, for me, been knocking on the door to a start. He's had some very positive cameos. He was good against Middlesbrough last weekend as well. I thought he offers that physicality, but also you can see the technical ability he's got. Can he take a step forward today? And it's been mentioned, Cernach down the middle. I don't think he was bought as a central figure, but that clearly is a position that isn't alien to him. He played it on occasion in Poland last season. I just think with him, if they can, and we saw glimpses of it when he was the only other time he's been tried down the middle, which was Palace away in the League Cup, work the ball into the areas he likes. He's got that pace to get beyond, and then we'll see. We'll see, if he can grab an opportunity. And again, there's been elements of his game I've liked in the last month or so, just suggesting he's getting to grips with it. But now the pressure's on. You need to take a step forward today, and he's not the only one.
No, agreed. And as much as we talk about injuries, I remember us having a conversation, it might have been on this actually, pre-Middlesbrough, where we were speaking about the third game in the week and the fact that Norwich hadn't made too many changes. I mean, is that coincidence? Is it, I guess, to be expected, given how much those players, Sargent, Slimani, who I think both played all 3 games, suddenly you then get the muscular injuries? I don't know, is that a valid question to ask in the circumstance?
Well, it's definitely a valid question to ask. Particularly muscular-related ones, that's related to load, and they did all have to do quite a high-intensity week there if you span it from Stoke through to Middlesbrough. And even the nature of those games, to find yourself behind and have to dig so deep to come back, the amount of energy they've expended. But we can't definitively answer that because that gets into sports science and looking at the data and the performance and physical output and
we're barely qualified for this, let alone anything sports.
Qualified, yeah. But whether they talk about, don't they, sports scientists and the medical staff talk about being in the red zone and pushing your body and that endurance factor. So we don't know. We're not party to that data. But
you sound like you get trained by them.
Yeah, but the reality is, certainly with Slimani, he now for me has some issue. And that's not a surprise because Johannes, I remember him talking about, this is a guy who hasn't played a lot of football. He has to almost build himself up. We got that from Johannes pretty shortly after he came into the building. So they must have known that maybe there is an issue there in terms of in the Championship, you play 3 times a week. As a midfielder, you need to be box to box. Can you handle it? And the answer, unfortunately, with Slimani at present is no, there's work to do in that area. Sargent, well, at least thankfully it's not ankle related because then you would be concerned. I mean, if it's a muscular thing, but again, and I've seen 1 or 2 points about what they need to do in January now in the top end of the pitch. If Barnes isn't really going to be available, or maybe isn't a player that Johannes feels fits his template, they have to go, because it's been underlined graphically now today, and Sheffield and Bristol next weekend. You cannot rely on that guy to lead your line for 46 championship games. It's just impossible. So if Cernak isn't going to be the next go-to, and maybe he's got a bit of a dress rehearsal now this week, then they certainly need to prioritise that in January. Absolutely no doubt.
Indeed, right. Let's we got the Cardiff team. Let's see how they're lining up. This is a much improved Cardiff as well. Since Maritza has taken charge, only Sunderland and Leeds have taken more points than the Bluebirds. They've got Anik in goal, Rinamota, Gutus, Chambers, and O'Dowda as their back four. Sopsis and Turnbull. It was linked with Norwich City, wasn't he? Once upon a time,
David Turnbull.
It is, yeah.
Turned Norwich fan.
He did, yeah. Willock on the right, El Ghazi on the left. Colwill behind Tanner. That's a very strong free behind Tanner there. And their subs bench: Ethan Horvath, Will Fish, Jesper Darland, Wilfred Kanga, Jakub Mete, Joel Bangan, Cian Ashford, Michael Raindorf, formerly of Norwich City, joined Cardiff this summer. Callum Robinson, who was a bit of a doubt for this game, but has made the bench for them. And they've been going well, haven't they, Paddy? Under Ritza since he took charge, particularly here. But unbeaten, I think, in their last five. They've taken, as we mentioned, quite considerably.
Just going to answer Tyler. I mean, where have you been, Tyler? I mean, honest to God. Injured groin, unavailable for the next 3 games. Fingers crossed, no longer.
There we go. But Cardiff improving, and I guess that adds maybe to a little bit of what we're speaking about today, in that this is certainly not going to be an easy contest in the context of where the respective teams are at, particularly given the form that Cardiff have exhibited. I mean, they beat Plymouth here, they beat Portsmouth here. Sides, yes, towards the bottom end of the table, but still considerable victories considering their own starts of the campaign, and obviously having to sack Errol Bullock very early.
Yeah, I mean, it's 11 points from the last 6. I think only Leeds, you said Sunderland, but definitely only Leeds have taken more in that last 5-game sequence. There's no doubt for me. Norwich come here with Sargent, they come here with McLean, Nunes and Gunn. This is still a very difficult assignment because it's a team clearly on the up now, and a group of players who are playing for this interim coach, Omar Rizza. So you tilt the dial the other way and take those players out of the Norwich ranks, and for me it enhances Cardiff's chances probably to continue where they're going, which is upward, at Norwich's expense. We had a chat with Ewan Roberts is here, and he was talking about the night and day change between Errol Bullock, the previous manager, and what Rizza's done. He says they're very aggressive, they want to press from the front, they've got some good ball players in the middle of the park.
Commit a lot of men forward, which is why they leave space.
I mean, having said that, obviously Robinson is their go-to in terms of goals. He's only fit for the bench, and Perry and G, who's a very good player in this Cardiff side, right back, who would have been detailed to look after Science, he is suspended. So it's not all one way. Cardiff have their own issues to contend with in terms of selection, but yeah, make no mistake, and by all accounts, the fan base have liked what they've seen, and I think there'll be a good turnout from home fans today, and they'll be noisy as well. Credit to the 1,300 who are travelling from all parts for the away end. But as for me, it's a tough assignment. Has just got considerably tougher with confirmation of that Norwich lineup.
Ah, dear, it was all going so well. How's this going to go, Paddy?
Well, I said on the Insta Live when we were in receipt of the information that is now public that I just felt that tipped off. Me and Adam did the preview show Thursday. I felt at that point a draw was something certainly within Norwich's grasp. Now it feels like it's just tipping maybe towards a home win, so I'm going to go 2-1 Cardiff. But do not write this group of players off because you'd have looked quite silly at Preston and quite silly against Middlesbrough. So they certainly have the capacity to resist, but at what point is it too deep to dig? And today might be that, just because of the injury situation. So Cardiff home win. You Connor?
Yeah, look, I'll back it. I said it on Instagram. I think, and I'm basing this on maybe a few Norwich City players stepping up, that there is an opportunity here for them today. I think Cardiff have been running a little bit hot. I think there's a potential there for them to exploit. Look, there's still Borja Sainz in there. There's still, you mentioned Antti Cianat, so I'm looking forward to seeing him in a central position. Marcondes, I thought was very good last Sunday. Schwartau, I think, has shown glimpses from the bench of what he's about. So I think there's maybe enough, not stretching a little bit, maybe enough for Norwich City to bridge the gap today. And like you say, I think if they could get any type of win here, I mean, just imagine what that would do for this group in terms of their confidence levels and in terms of that togetherness. So, yeah, perhaps foolishly and maybe regrettably, I'm going to go for a Norwich City win, 2-1.
I mean, what I would say though, Connor, is you can guarantee right now in the bowels of this stadium, in the home dressing room, they will be scrambling. You know, Rizza and his coaching staff will look at that Norwich lineup, and it'll be, well, how many of them would they have realistically guessed? I'd say probably only half of that Norwich lineup. So, you know, that may have thrown them out a little bit. And if anything that can sort of tilt the balance back towards Norwich, then they have to cash in on. But what you don't want is that Cardiff start very well, pin Norwich back, maybe even get their noses in front, and then it feels like a long way from home and some ready-made excuses. I'm not saying that Norwich would hide behind the injuries and unavailabilities, but you know, if Cardiff are gonna get the better of them today, make them earn it. You know, don't feel sorry for yourself and feel, well, what do you expect? We're without 4 or 5 key players. You know, I don't think that mentality is in this group, but they certainly will have to show that and more today, I think.
Agreed. Right. Let's see what we get. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, Paddy will be asking the questions of Johannes off to maybe get a more definitive timeline on Josh Sargent and Anis Ben Slimani, of course. But that injury list is rapidly growing, isn't it? At quite an alarming rate, particularly ahead of, obviously, a busy week and another long trip on Tuesday night to Sheffield Wednesday. As Paddy mentioned, 1,300 Norwich fans. I can see a few of them filtering into the away end just to my right. And they're going to need every single one of them today, I think. So let's see how it goes. I'm on the live blog if you want to join me, and certainly going to be interesting, I think, this afternoon. Thanks for joining us. See you soon.